Good evening, Columbus, and might I say everybody in the world, because we know a lot of people are watching from outside of the Columbus Metro. My name is Nia Noelle, and I'm your host for Wine Down Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you. Hopefully you have a glass of wine and you can sit down and enjoy this conversation. Just don't forget to drink responsibly. Now, tonight's guest is one of my personal doctors. I had to invite her on here because we want to talk about skin. It's the middle of summer, you know, even though skincare and everything is year round, but I really wanted to bring her on to talk about skincare, and especially as it pertains to Black and brown people. So please welcome my dermatologist, Dr. Hicks-Graham.
Hi, so good to be with you.
I know, it's so good to see you too. We've had a couple virtual visits, so I haven't seen you in person in a while, but good to see you.
Right, oh my gosh, this has been quite the time, but it's great to see you. You look wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks to everybody in your office. You guys have helped me so much with my skincare over the years. Well, I wanted to bring you here because, you know, skincare is so important. And, you know, for me, it was something that I didn't really get on until later. And I kind of wish I had started earlier. But, you know, I think a lot of people take advantage of their age and think that they don't need a skincare routine and everything in their youthful days. But why do you think that people need to go see a dermatologist? Maybe someone that just doesn't have like eczema or something. Why would they need to go to a dermatologist?
Yeah, well, there are certainly many reasons why people choose to see a dermatologist. Probably the most important reason is if they have a lot of moles, or if they're just concerned that they may have something on their skin that may be new or changing. And so one thing that's important to know that a lot of people of color don't realize is that skin cancer can happen to anyone. Absolutely anyone. So even though our melanin certainly does protect us from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays, it's not completely impenetrable. And so that means that our melanin protects us perhaps more than it would a person with even lighter skin, but you can still get skin cancer no matter what skin tone you are.
See, and I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely want to talk about some myths about Black and brown skin, because we all have heard them. Not too long ago, I was on a trip with a girlfriend and she was like, we were at the beach and I said, you want some sunscreen? And she was like, no, girl, I don't need sunscreen. We don't burn. I was like,
wow.
Because I've burnt before, but I know the answer to this, but do we burn?
Yes. People of color can absolutely burn. People with a super rich brown ebony skin tone can certainly get a sunburn. You know, in many cases, especially if you live in a northern climate and you really aren't accustomed to a lot of intense sun, especially coming out of COVID, many of us were staying mostly indoors. And then if you take that magical vacation, say south of Florida, perhaps you go to the islands, you go to Mexico, and all of a sudden you have this intense burst of ultraviolet light exposure from the sun at the beach and you're out for hours and hours. Absolutely. If you're not protected with sunscreen, hats, etc., then you really could be at risk for getting a sunburn. And that hurts. It literally hurts. And you may not see it as much if your skin is a browner tone. It just may look a little differently. Sometimes it can look more like a deep purple color, but one thing for sure, it will hurt. And we know that it can unfortunately change the cells of your skin and make them more susceptible to changes that you don't want over time, including hyperpigmentation. It can cause uneven skin tone. It can cause fine lines. It can cause like that crepey skin. And of course, it's just uncomfortable. So it's nothing that you want.
Yeah, I'll never forget the first time I got sunburn is when I went to Mexico for the first time. And I didn't even know what it was. I just knew that it hurt. I put my purse on my shoulder and my girlfriend that happened to be Caucasian was like, oh girl, you're sunburned. And I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
I definitely want everybody to realize that you can do damage to your skin, even though we already are a darker melanin. So obviously I knew the answer to that one. So we need sunscreen then, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we recommend everyone, no matter of skin tone, wear sunscreen every single day, at least broad spectrum SPF 30 or higher every single day. And if you're going to be out for any length of time, every 2 hours, you should certainly reapply sunscreen. Or if you come in and out of the water. So if you're swimming, you've put on sunscreen before jumping in and you're coming back out again, it's probably time to reapply.
Gosh, and that's where I think I fail. I know I fail. Sometimes I'm not the reapplier, but that's so important. I know that. And you said at least 30 SPF on a daily basis?
Yes, on the regular. Like I don't own any sunscreen that's less than 30.
Yeah. But what about sunscreens? Like some of my moisturizers have a sunscreen in it. Is that okay? And then layer one on top. How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, so I think for the face, for example, I think pairing it inside a moisturizer is totally acceptable because in many cases, you're doing your routine. You've got perhaps if you've got something that you're using for another reason, say you have an acne lesion or whatever, you're washing your face. In many cases, we recommend putting a little spot treatment on for something like that. And then you can protect your skin with the last application being your moisturizer with sunscreen. Yes, that's totally acceptable.
Okay, so at least I'm on track with that. So I definitely do that every day. But I want to remind everybody that is at home watching that we do have a comment section. So if you have a question for Dr. Hicks-Graham about skincare or anything like that, definitely drop that in there. And as we work through our conversation, we'll get to your questions as well. Now, another Black myth I want to know, and I don't know the answer to this one, so I'm very curious about this one. You've all heard the term Black don't crack. We don't age as badly. Is that true?
Well, I tell you, it's interesting. I would say that it's partially true. What I will say is that because of the melanin that we do possess, it does give us a little bit more protection versus our fairer counterparts when it comes to sun damage. Okay, so we may not have as much of a risk of developing fine lines and discoloration at an earlier age, perhaps, but over time, if we're not careful about protecting with sunscreen and wearing hats, etc., over time, we just develop perhaps more of just a sallow color of the skin, and it may become perhaps a bit more textured. And so we may just manifest sun damage differently. Our pore quality may not be as fine, and we may notice just irregularities in our skin tone. And so it may not look like a total, sunspot, and we may not develop those fine lines that can look like cracks, but we manifest it usually in hyperpigmentation, and that tends to be really bothersome to some of us.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we always hear the myths and everybody's always saying that. So, I had to ask that, and I was
But one thing is true. And, I heard this once from a wise woman. They said that, Black don't crack perhaps, but sometimes we do fold. We do fold. And so we tend to get like these little, jowls, etc. Yeah. And so gravity can work its way into all of us.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's a blessing to get old, but then there's things that come along with it like that,
Right.
So, speaking of getting older, I think this is a good time to talk about like work. So a lot of people like to get work done, Botox, fillers, that kind of stuff. And someone once told me that you shouldn't wait till you get wrinkles if you're wanting to get work done. You shouldn't wait till you get wrinkles, that you should start it before the wrinkles. Is that true?
Yeah, I do think that there's a lot of benefit to that. So it's absolutely true that, in many cases when it comes to just the art of beginning the process of kind of maintaining one's skin, it's good to anticipate what's coming, right? So if you perhaps see that you're developing a lot of the little moles, many of us carry those in our genetic background. You know, we can see aunt so-and-so, mom, dad, their face may have a ton of little moles that may make their skin look more uneven. And if you start seeing those, it might be reasonable to consider getting an evaluation to see if those might be possibly removed. Also, if you notice that you're beginning to see lines that stay after you finish making a certain movement and you're like, wait, I'm not making that frown anymore. Why is the line still there? It could be that it's time to consider something to help relax those lines. You know, we have medications and I'm here for just dispelling the myth that it's not okay for people of color or Black people to get work done. It's really okay. Like, you know, it's not about vanity. Sometimes it's literally just about feeling your best, right? I mean, it's hard. It is hard to go out here and, you know, feel great all the time. And I'm not saying that, you know, Botox is going to, you know, fix every problem. Of course, we know that's not the case. But if it gives you a little extra confidence, you know, when you're on those Zooms, I mean, the fact of the matter is the lighting on screens is really harsh in many cases. And in the last year, we have seen this thing, I'll call it Zoom boom, okay, where people are on screens, right, constantly, hours and hours and hours, and you just start looking at yourself and noticing things that frankly are just natural, right? But that doesn't mean that you appreciate it or that you like it or that you want to keep it. And so a lot of us in aesthetic medicine or dermatology, plastic surgery, ear, nose, and throat, a lot of you know, specialists who see patients for cosmetic reasons are noticing this thing called Zoom boom, where a lot of people are coming in saying, hey, I'm seeing this now. What can we do? And so I just want to, you know, just completely take away the stigma that if you're noticing something that you don't like and you think that there's a way to correct it, you know, get it checked out and see if a treatment that you're considering is right for you.
Well, I just have to say a little cheers to that because
Okay.
there's
All right.
nothing wrong with feeling your best. Can we toast to that a little bit?
Let's toast to that. Absolutely.
Let me tell you something. I'm not mad at people that have had work done, and I feel like it might be something that I consider one day.
Yeah.
Is it something that's super expensive, or can the average person afford to get a little Botox or filler or that whatnot?
Absolutely. So there are certainly ways that you can like dip your toe in the pond and kind of check it out. So, you know, on average, Botox costs, you know, a few $100s for like a modest area. And in many cases, that's all it takes for you to kind of see what it's about. I highly recommend going to someone who you can connect with. I recommend going to a professional office, someone who's board certified in dermatology, plastic surgery, ophthalmology, ear, nose, and throat. I absolutely recommend that because we undergo board certification to make sure that, you know, patients are absolutely treated safely and effectively. And so I do recommend doing your homework and certainly checking it out. You know, I don't think that you have to spend a ton of money to keep yourself looking great. A lot of it really has to do with protection, and anyone can buy sunscreen. Like sunscreen starts at like, what, $5 probably if you went to like a discount store, and you know the bottle can last all season. And so you do want to make sure that you invest in a good quality sunscreen. I really like mineral sunscreens because they do keep the skin nice and healthy. And that just means one that contains perhaps titanium dioxide or zinc oxide. That's, you know, kind of a personal ingredient favorite of mine. But really, as long as it's broad spectrum UVA and UVB SPF 30 or higher, that's something that you can do literally for $5, you know, and really take care of your skin. I have patients who spend hundreds of dollars on creams, but if they're not using sunscreen, I say it's a waste. It's an absolute waste. So you can do something really economical and really get a lot of bang for your buck.
I need to, like, soon as we get done here, I'm going to look at my sunscreen and see if it's mineral. Because I was like, wait a minute. If I made a face, I'm like, oh my gosh, is mine like that? I don't want it if it's not.
Well, and listen, you know, chemical versus mineral, the best thing is that you're using it, right? And there are chemical sunscreens that I also use and appreciate a lot, especially like when I go to the beach, because I find that I like higher number SPFs, and those typically are available in larger sizes for the body in the chemical formulations. But for something that I'm wearing every single day on my face, I just tend to like more of a mineral, because that just reflects the light, and those chemicals aren't getting necessarily absorbed into my skin.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so that leads me to think, since we're talking about moisture and all that, I've had family members that said, moisturize, moisturize, moisturize. Moisture is so important for your skin. Is moisturizing important for our skin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So really, there have been studies that show that really a good moisturizer is a wonderful anti-aging ingredient. And in many cases, they'll do before and afters, and they'll show like a really dry skin picture, and then they'll just apply simple moisturizer. I don't care if it's even, you know, old school Vaseline, right? And just with that alone, the skin looks more youthful, it looks more radiant, it looks just healthier. And so absolutely, the key is just finding one that is right for your skin type, because if you tend to be an oil producer and you use a moisturizer that's designed for really dry skin that might be too heavy, you may not like it, or you might find that you feel like you're breaking out more. Perhaps it exacerbates acne. And so that can be frustrating, just finding the right product. And they have lightweight moisturizers, maybe some that have hyaluronic acid in them alone. Maybe they have a little sunscreen with them to boot, but then they have all the ones in the middle. And then you can go to even a more heavy, richer agent that you might feel is appropriate if you have eczema prone skin, or if it's winter, or if it's, you know, if you're washing your hands a ton and you need to protect them. So really there is, I mean, it's almost overwhelming when you go to the skincare aisle now to be able to pick the right product. So it's good to, you know, listen to events like yours today to try to get some ideas.
So you said something that I'm so in love with lately. In the past year or so, I have become a hyaluronic acid girl. I love it. Am I crazy for loving it? Is it a good thing?
It's great. I mean, hyaluronic acid is wonderful. So literally what it does is it's an agent that's found naturally in our skin. It's also present in our joints. So it's a naturally occurring agent, and it literally just pulls water into it. Okay. So it just helps our skin retain water. And so it feels nice and lightweight. In many cases, it's formulated just to be just that light kind of cooling sort of moisturizer that, you know, perhaps 20 years ago just wasn't really available. And so it's become widely available. You can spend as little as like $10 to $15 on a good hyaluronic acid product. We call them HAs. You can spend as little as, you know, $10 to $15, or you can get, you know, a more high-end one for, you know, 100 plus. But they're all really, really effective. And so I heavily recommend those to people. The other fun fact, you were asking about fillers earlier?
Yes.
So the active ingredient in most of my favorite fillers is hyaluronic acid. I know. And so imagine that is the agent. You said, well, what's filler about? What is that? It's literally just like a gel that is injected into a safe plane in the skin, designed to help lift, revolumize skin. Because over time, you know, we do have perhaps a little fold, like I mentioned, or we may like lose our pretty cheekbones or what have you. A man may realize that like his eyes may appear more sunken in or more tired. Lady might complain of the same thing. And so there are ways that we can inject just the right amount of hyaluronic acid filler just to help those folds not look quite as deep, and it can really refresh one's appearance.
So let me ask you, Botox, filler, I know I'm a big girl, but I hate needles. So how painful is it? Like, is there a long healing time, and how painful is it when you're getting it done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so Botox literally takes minutes. It's just like, I'd say 5 minutes or maybe 5 to 10 minutes of a few select pokes. So here, we tend, depending on the areas that we're considering trying to soften, we just use a little tiny, very small syringe just to inject Botox. It's like a moment. It feels like a tiny bee sting. Okay. And once it's over, the pain is no longer there. And, it stings for maybe the moment that you're having it injected, and then it's gone. It's really nothing. It's really nothing.
So this is literally something I could do on my lunch break and go back to work.
Oh, absolutely. That's what most people do. Like, yeah, absolutely. They come in and they're like, oh, great, I'm in for my Botox. And then literally you might have a little redness, perhaps a tiny bit of swelling for about 20 minutes, and you're back on call.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I definitely see some changes in my face. I'm getting older. Thank God. I'm blessed to get older, but,
right.
And not that I feel like I have to fix it, but
right.
There's sometimes little things that, like you said, it would make you feel better if it wasn't there.
Right.
And did you see a lot of people, COVID and this pandemic has affected a lot of different things. Has it affected our skin in any way? And I'm not saying someone necessarily that's been sick, but we've been at home and quarantine and doing different routines. Has it changed our skin and people's skin anyway?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. So one thing that I'll say is that anecdotally, I think most of us feel like we've aged at least 3 years in the last year. I mean, no doubt. And certainly we know that our community sadly has been so greatly impacted by the effect of COVID-19. I mean, so many of us have lost loved ones. We've experienced great trauma through that, managing social unrest during that time. I mean, it's been really, really a heavy time. And, many of us have become, affected by the illness personally. So if you've been sick, just having illness, being concerned, being afraid makes you feel like you're aging, right? Because you're worried. And when you take on that stress, a lot of what we experience mentally absolutely affects our body. Like, we know that it accelerates aging. And so we know that our skin is part of our body. It's the largest organ in the body. And absolutely, we feel that stress in our skin. And many patients have come to me saying, doc, I feel like I've aged so much. What can you do? How can we help this? And so really it's just about, recognizing the need for self-care. So just really putting yourself as a priority to manage that skin, hair, and even nail care routine. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just doing it every day as part of your self-care ritual to literally wind down and take a minute for yourself. Just putting it on the list of priorities of things to do. Take care of yourself, wash your face, put moisturizer on, take a walk, drink your water. Right? I mean, your skin, we were just talking about how high hyaluronic acid helps you retain water. Well, if you really haven't had much drink all day that's water, your skin probably won't be able to pull from much, and then it's not really going to be helpful. That hyaluronic acid is going to have nowhere to kind of pull from. So you got to give your body what it needs. You have to, and I'm talking to myself, you have to take time to eat well, to take care of yourself.
Yeah. So we have a question from the audience. What is and it's probably, I'm not sure if you can completely answer this, but maybe give a general answer, but what is a good treatment to get rid of the turkey neck? A lot of people get this extraness down here.
Oh,
I know
wow.
I get it if I'm like you know.
Oh, I know. I know. I mean, I've caught myself in a mirror at a bad angle and been like, wait a minute, what is, so it's real. It is real. Thank you for this question. So neck rejuvenation is actually a really active area right now. You can certainly use products that contain hyaluronic acid. One thing to know before you choose a product for neck care is that you want to be actually a little bit more gentle. The skin of the neck is thinner, and it resembles more like skin around the eye, actually, in terms of its structure. And so really you want to be careful not to choose anything that has like a lot of harsh ingredients. You want to be careful with retinoids and things that are anti-aging, because sometimes that can break you out and make you more dry and actually worsen the turkey neck, but because it dries it out. So really you want to seek products that are more hydrating, more enriched with moisturizers, and really it's just about keeping that skin as firm and tight as possible. I know there are treatments that we have in the office that use like radio frequency heat energy to try and tighten the skin. That's great because it's also non-invasive. But you can also move toward, like, if a person is suffering with perhaps unwanted underlying fat here. So some of us, we just get this little pocket of fat that no matter what body weight we are, we tend to have like this double chin thing. And so there is actually a treatment called Kybella that we can use to actually melt this fat quite safely. And it's gone for good. And so it also can help firm the skin. And then there are some other treatments. There's microneedling, things like that can also be used to help tighten the skin. And also there are some treatments that you can use as kind of ancillary services like platelet-rich plasma, which can also help to tighten that skin. So all things that can be done for the dreaded turkey neck. Thanks for that question.
I'm glad that there's a variety of things there. So definitely call your dermatologist, if not my dermatologist. So one more audience question, because we're running out of time. Are you taking new patients?
Yes, we are taking new patients. So I look forward to hopefully meeting some of you. Please reach out to Downtown Dermatology, check out our website, or give us a call. Remember to press option 2 and you'll get to our awesome staff.
Yes, you guys have an amazing staff. And just so you guys know, running right below us is all the information so you can get in touch with everybody over there and get to taking care of yourself. I hate that we're running out of time, but I must say this. I want to have you back because there's more questions. And some other time, let's have you back and we can talk more about skincare and everything like that. So
yes.
Thank you so much for coming and taking time out. I know you work all day in the office and then I'm pulling you into from your evening routine, but I just wanted to thank you so much for coming here and answering and busting some of these myths about skin and everything.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Well, everybody, we will be back in 2 weeks, week after next, for the next Wind Down Wednesday episode. Dr. Hicks-Graham, thank you so much for being here. Everybody in the audience, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And one last toast.
Hey.
Toast. All right. Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks, Nia. Bye.
Yeah. Everybody have a great night.